Welcome to Cultivating Conversations. Farmer Jazz here. Today we got one of my good friends, James MacGlashing, the founder of Krystal Gardens. How you doing today, James?
I'm good. I'm good. How are you?
Man, I'm good. I'm good. I'm glad to have you on, man.
Of course. It's been a while.
I know it has been a while. It's been good to see your journey in creating Crystal Gardens and seeing that flourishing. A lot of businesses is a lot like farming. You germinate, you have an idea with a seed, then it goes through like a vegetative state where you get to go through all the trials and tribulations and build up endurance, and then ultimately you get to a flower stage where you get to sit back. You might not be there, but we definitely got a good program. So I want to start with the first question, James.
hmm
Can you start by just introducing yourself and letting us know what Crystal Gardens is?
Yeah. My name is James MacGlashing. I went to Northeastern, and I started Krystal Gardens back when I was in school. I really just wanted to find a way to get weed really without like relying on street dealers and them not knowing information about the product, stuff like that. So I started Crystal Gardens originally as soon as they legalized cannabis, there was nowhere to really buy it. There weren't dispensaries opened back in 2014, even though it was legal. So I wanted to do some more like just research and growing my own product and also helping people that wanted to, actually know what they're smoking, get their hands and learn about stuff in terms of the cannabis that they're growing and smoking. So that's how it originally started. As time goes on, as business goes on, we started throwing and getting more into cannabis-based events, and that's just mainly because of the lack of spaces where people can consume and really enjoy and network and garner ideas around cannabis. I mean, you know how it is with like drinking. There's a liquor store, but then that's not a majority of how people drink. Usually you'll go to a party or a kickback or something like that. And it's like, cannabis is a real social. I think it's pretty social. Like a lot of potheads like to act like they want to be by themselves and smoke by themselves, but that's just because there is no space for us to sit and be high together and enjoy our energy and share ideas and our love for cannabis. So
Yeah,
that's
no,
where we're
that's
at.
good. I appreciate that.
hmm
Um, what are some of the biggest challenges you've had with starting Crystal Gardens? I know the cannabis space. As myself, I'm in the cannabis space as a manufacturer and license owner. What are some of the issues that you've had in this business and starting it up?
I feel like definitely just finding a way to get spaces. A lot of people aren't really too receptive in the past. I feel like now it's starting to get a little bit better, but just traditionally, it's been hard to find spaces and find people who are kind of all in. People kind of see cannabis as risk, and so that just leads to you not really being able to get money, get support, have people like really be all in on your business. Like there's certain spaces that won't let me throw events. There's certain people that even though they have a network or a voice, they won't necessarily like put me on just because then their whole entire thing would be about weed. So it's like some people don't really like want that, and I feel like that's just what it's going to be until uh places really open up, and especially when they actually take it off of the scheduled 1, scheduled 3, whatever, the whole drug listing stuff.
Yeah. So know a little bit more about Crystal Gardens because I got to see it from the beginning, from y'all's first event to some of the indoor growing that you were doing as a cultivator. I want you to, talk a little bit more about being a cultivator in the space and kind of how you grew as a cultivator with Crystal Gardens.
Oh yeah, definitely. So I started growing my first plants in pretty sure 2014, and I kind of just set up a little grow tent in my closet. My mom ended up kicking me out for that same grow tent. And yeah, so I was just trying to learn, just planting seeds and stuff like that. And so I grew one plant and it was like okay. And my grandfather, he had seen the plant that I grew, and he was like, yo, I'll buy another tent, like let's set it up, and like I'll pay you to take care of the plants at at another family friend's place. So I ended up starting to grow over there. Then I got like started to get good. That's where I started to like really learn more about the growing process and really how to like make quality flour. So that just transitioned to me finding more clients. At one point, I was growing for 6 people, like in the Boston area, all at the same time, and just making sure that people had a way to, get access to quality stuff that they know what it is. And within that journey, I started finding more people who really wanted to know more about like the medical side of cannabis. And this is something that has kind of really always bothered me about the medical cannabis industry is like you get a medical license for cannabis, so now you can go to a dispensary and like, get weed um, for your medical condition. But nobody in that dispensary actually knows about medical cannabis. They're just going to try to sell you on a deal. So one thing that I started to learn was that the people that I was growing for really had medical conditions and really wanted to know more about the chemical breakdowns of their cannabis, whether it be the terpenes, the percentages, the THCs, all of that stuff. And that's when I really started to kind of change my own view on weed and like turn it from more something like recreational to like, okay, I actually am like positively impacting people in a way that I never really like thought.
Oh, nice, nice. A lot of you guys don't know, James was one of the first people to teach me how to grow. We were roommates during the pandemic, and one of the things that I was always amazed by this, you could catch this man up at all times of the night checking in on plants, and um, I want to hear a lot about your journey and kind of the steps you take in cultivating. Um, did you learn that from someone, or was that just something that you learned from trial and error? Let me hear about that.
So yeah, I mostly learned through trial and error, but I also like we're in a bunch of different type of weed growing groups and those sorts of things just to like get some of the basic information. And sometimes people would be working with materials and equipment that I didn't have access to yet. So it's just a great way to kind of see what works for other people and see if you can apply it. In terms of like my personal process, I usually like to grow hydro. That's kind of my thing. And I only grow hydro. I don't grow in soil. And I just like the hydro because it's just a lot cleaner. I don't really like bugs or dirt. And most of the time I'm in a city. So, it's just more efficient to just use water. And it also makes the growing process a little bit quicker. That's like one of the benefits of growing hydroponically. So I know that, just living with you back when you were working at like the lettuce farms and stuff like that, that was one thing that we would always kind of mention is how superior hydro is in terms of like, knowing exactly what is inside of your product. So mainly I grow hydro. I usually take up anywhere between 5 to 6 months for a grow, from seed to harvest. A lot of times I like to grow from seed to harvest. I don't necessarily like taking on clones too much. And that's mainly because sometimes people don't take care of their clones in their space. So I don't want to bring, some messed up clones back to my setup. So I usually like to grow from seed just to, make sure that I know exactly what I'm working with. Um, and yeah, I mean, I grow all sorts of different strains. I usually get them lab tested just to make sure that I can have some data behind what I'm doing. And yeah, pretty much it.
Yeah, that's nice. That's nice. Yeah, definitely. Me and James had a lot of powwows back in the day when I was working at Crop One. Um, a lot of I learned a lot from him, just seeing the many different types of lighting systems he was using, learning about the different nutrients, and also learning about how to like grow in a tent, because it's much different from what I was doing at Crop One, where we were growing in enclosures. We had more space, which made it like a little. I feel like it was easier to, because you're walking in there, like maybe in a tent. It's a
Yeah,
little
kind of
harder to
cramped up.
observe the plant. It's a little cramped up. But I also know that you took some time traveling to the West Coast, many different places, Rhode Island, Boston. Um, did you see any differences in growing as you would on your travels? Because I know California, you got a lot of sun and might as well make use of it. You ever get any chances to grow outdoors, or did
Um,
you always stay with hydro?
so I did move to California and I spent probably like 4 or 5 years out there just learning about people's growing processes out there. And I did learn a lot of people would use like a semi indoor outdoor type of setup. Like it would be like a greenhouse, but they would also have lights inside to make sure that you can grow the plant like when the sun is gone. Because you know, with when it comes to the plant, so you need kind of 16 hours of sunlight to keep it into a vegetative state. So granted, in times like the winter where there might be only 12 hours of sunlight or something like that, they would use the sun for a majority of their time. And then after that, they would switch on the lights to make sure that they can clean up and finish up all the other, areas that they need to. So that was just something that I learned that was interesting about California's Californian setups, is that they kind of made sure that they were able to use the sun, but then also used other supplemental lights and things like that. And
Nice, nice.
yeah, and I haven't really seen too much. I did spend some time in Providence, but I mean, it's similar to what you would see in Mass in terms of like their actual growing setups.
All right, perfect. Another thing I do know is while you're in California, you spend your time networking and collaborating out there. Did any of those ideas that you got from California kind of spark what you kind of transformed Krystal Gardens into? Because it started out as like a cultivation collective, and now it's more of like event space, event planning, um, like type of thing. Where'd you get that idea from?
Yeah, so I used to go to a couple of different events. There's one person on Instagram, the Canopreneur, and I basically would go to like a couple of his events, which were more like pop-ups and things like that. And he would always have like just different stuff going on at the event, and I really took inspiration by that. Um, Granted, they weren't like full painting events like how I do, or like edible infused brunches, but like I would see just the creativity in some of the events that he was doing, and I definitely wanted to kind of spin it and make it more for like the Boston audience. And what I mean by that is like people in LA are a little bit more relaxed and like carefree, whereas like people in the Northeast really want to be like educated or informed, or like they would like a little bit more structure. So I felt that like, I would have to kind of change the events to more so fit the audience that we have here.
All right. Yeah. So you talked about paintbrush, painting, and some of the events briefly about what you do at Krystal Gardens. Can you go into that a little bit more, like what the events are like, what people could look forward to when they pop up to a Krystal Gardens event?
Yeah, so whenever you go to a Crystal Gardens event, right now we have three different types of events that are happening throughout the summer and mostly into the fall. So we have Puff and Brush, which is an art instructor led painting session that is 420 friendly. We have some different vendors that come and try to give out some of their products also. So whether it be weed infused drinks or little edible snacks, there's also a pre roll included. And then we also have like our student glass bong, the fancy stuff that Wiz Khalifa
Mm,
would be smoking out of, just to
yeah.
add some fanfare into it. And that's kind of the idea behind the puff and brush. We also have our resin roll up, which is an event in our creative decor tour. So what that is it's basically resin art. So you'll see like maybe on Instagram you might have seen like epoxy. So it's like plastic pouring creative stuff.
Mm.
So you can create your own magnetic ashtray, your own coasters, your own rolling trays, that sort of thing. And that is the resin roll up event. That one is also 420 friendly. We have some sponsors for that too. But because of the way that resin pouring works, like you have to be masked up. Like you have to wear an actual mask to make sure that the plastic doesn't like damage your own lungs and eyes and stuff. So I wouldn't say it's like, yeah, we give you some stuff to, smoke or whatever, but it's not like you can really like, get all crazy and be smoking at the event.
Yeah.
um,
So it sounds like these are more like networking opportunities, and you had briefly went over sponsorship. How did you get into finding sponsors? And can you talk about like how sponsorship has helped you develop your programs?
Yeah, so our first sponsor I think we've ever had was actually Passion Lounge in Providence. So I always got to shout them out because they really gave us an opportunity with their lounge space. And they were just interested because I mean, it's just a regular lounge that does all sorts of different events, and they're also 420. So it just really worked like us working together because they wanted to, bring people into their space, stuff like that. So we ended up doing a couple of events there where they sponsored. And then after that, we got our first sponsorship in Massachusetts, which was Diaspora. Um, Diaspora is in Cambridge. They're super cool people. Love them over there. That's where we do most of our painting and smoking events now. And we've just been working with them. They mostly find our other cannabis sponsors. So any of the people who are giving away stuff like that, they're like kind of the network and the hub. And that's just because a lot of other businesses like reach out to them for all sorts of other stuff. So they're like, just really big on like networking. Um, since that one, we also have gotten sponsored by Heritage THC Club. They are in Boston and Charlestown, so they are our sponsors for the resin roll up events.
Nice.
So um, it's been super helpful. Just like how I kind of was talking earlier about how it's been hard to like find people who are all in on cannabis. Now that it is starting to come to light and people are starting to like really get involved, it's great to just see other people in the same space as you and to grow with them.
That's nice. With the event space and event planning, what are some of the challenges that you faced in throwing some of the events and scaling out your business?
um i honestly I honestly think the hardest part is just working in the cannabis industry. I feel like not to people are just too high. Like,
That can be a problem.
yeah, I feel like that's kind of a pretty big problem. So like, I don't know. I bring it in. Like, don't get it confused. I smoke too. I do not smoke every day. I smoke maybe like 3 to 4 times a week. But when it's time to like really do business and like lock in, I'll like, make sure that I'll make sure it doesn't affect the business or like what I have at hand. Where I feel like sometimes people can be a little undisciplined, and especially in the cannabis field, there's a lot of that. And you know I feel like it's kind of a bad stigma because you can definitely be professional and still be a pot smoker and love weed, but bring it in a little bit, everybody, please.
Yeah, nah, I definitely feel that. Getting too high, you get scummed out, and you start losing track of time and what you're doing. Get a little lazy, lazy with your thoughts, lazy with some of your actions, and that definitely could be an issue for some of the events. Um, I know you had mentioned earlier about when you were cultivating, um, kind of people were focused on the health side of cannabis, and you just mentioned some of the negative sides. I don't think the health side is talked about much. Can you expand on that a little bit more, just from your knowledge? And are your events like a place of healing? Do you see it as like a place of healing with what you're doing, and also like the plant as a form of healing? Like, can you
so
bring those two together?
So yeah, I just want to make clear that like I'm not giving anybody medical advice. I'm not a
Mhm.
doctor. I don't know anything about that type of stuff. So I just want to start there, just as a disclaimer. I do think that when you're talking about healing in my events, I see them more as creative healing.
Mm.
So the artist that I work with now, like her big thing is she wants to be an art therapist. So I feel like in terms of my event, they're more of like creative releases rather than
Like
like
therapeutic,
rather than like actual cannabis medical type of
nice.
stuff. But with that being said, when I was talking about growing, a lot of people do understand their medical conditions and understand what they are looking for in the cannabis. So that's why I make it a point to make sure that all my stuff is lab tested so that I can show people what I grow and show so that they can kind of determine what they would like to get out of the plant in terms of terpenes and percentages and the actual science behind this stuff.
Nice. It's good that you actually get it tested so that the users can feel comfortable with what they're consuming, which is I think that's very responsible of you. Um, Another part of cannabis, you just spoke on terpenes. Is there any strain that you particularly like to grow, or strains that you particularly like to grow, and why?
Yeah, so I'm really a big fan of anything in the blueberry family. That was also the first plant that I ever grew. So I feel like just real comfortable just growing anything in that range. In terms of terpenes, so a lot of people don't know that terpenes really play a big role in how you feel after smoking the cannabis, and it's because it's linked to the sensories, the sensory cells. So like your nose, your taste, all of that stuff, it kind of plays a role into that. So I kind of like the linalool terpene, and I like pretty much any of the berry stuff. I'm not too much of a person that likes to like smoke and go to sleep, or like I don't need the weed to like relax necessarily. I kind of like to be more creative and a little bit of stuff that will like, get me thinking in a positive manner, get me up and get me working.
My next question is, what keeps you motivated? Because I know personally in the cannabis industry, there's always a lot of hurdles. What is it that keeps you motivated to keep going, keep being creative, keep pushing out ideas?
Um I don't know. I don't really know if there's one particular thing. I kind of this is just something that I've always been passionate about and I've really wanted to do. So I kind of don't necessarily see it as like I'm doing this stuff for money. It's like I'm doing this stuff and this, the business success, the networking and all that stuff kind of comes to me. And I feel like that's just like, me being a natural at like what I'm doing, or me just, kind of just staying within my limitations, if that makes sense.
That makes sense. I like that share. Always you always attract things when you're definitely passionate about what you're doing and you're putting out things not for the money. The money I feel like comes once you are in a phase of just like people could see that you're really enjoying what you're doing.
Hmm.
So I feel like that's just like a magnet effect that happens whenever you're in that type of flow. My next question is on the events. You had talked about some of the a few infusions and cooking and things like that. Can you talk about some of those events? I definitely like to hear more.
Yeah, so we have brunch in the clouds and some food-based high-class dinner events that we've done in the past, and we're planning some in the near future. And those are just like fully infused brunches where we have chefs. So we have Chef Picasso, shout out to him. We had a Toasted Chef a couple of times, and then we have Mark from Edible Arrangement, not Edible Arrangements. Hold on. I
Gotta
got
make
his.
sure you get the plugs right. Gotta
Yeah,
make sure you get the plugs right.
edible edible artisan treats. That's Mark in Providence, edible artisan treats. So
Nice.
he's been with us for a while and he's out in Providence, and they kind of basically just source like local products. So they make sure that they get some good homegrown cannabis with like no pesticides, things like that, and they do a really good job of like infusing that and blending it into all different sorts of like professionally cooked meals and snacks and treats. So they often come by and do some sampling at some of our events, or we like schedule some events specifically around their talents, and that's always it's always good. I like edibles. I think sometimes I like them very low mg, just because yeah, edible
Like to
foods is not for
consume.
everybody.
Tastes good.
Yeah,
Too
yeah,
seasoned.
yeah,
Too seasoned,
yes,
bro.
yes. I want
Would
to
be
eat the
too
food.
good.
I want to eat the whole plate. So you know what I mean? It's making sure that you can evenly spread out the THC in a meal so that you're not completely freaking wasted at the end.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, man. Because the food definitely is good. Do you have any treats or anything that's on your menu that is a go-to for you, or you always look forward to one of the chefs preparing?
So in terms of food, I really like Chef Picasso whenever he does any type of chicken dish. Like, so he's from Jacksonville, and he went to school at Johnson and Wales. Like, he's a professional chef, and he specializes in Southern cooking. So it's like whenever he cooks any type of chicken, like, I'm on it. Like, I'm on it. And then if we're talking about treats, edible artisan treats, they make some real quality things because they make things that you don't necessarily see a lot. Like, so they'll make like a cake pop or like a strooper waffle. And those are things that, like, people usually just do a brownie or a cookie or some basic things,
Yeah.
but it's like they're really putting time and quality in their stuff. And it's just him and his wife that make it. So it's like you can really feel that it like comes from the heart. And that's kind of a big reason on like why I made Krystal Gardens is I didn't necessarily want to work with like huge big businesses. I wanted to work with people who are local and making quality products. And those are two people that, I swear by.
I like that. I feel definitely the same. I feel like when you work with the larger industry, larger companies, the quality is lost. But when you work with smaller companies, they got to set themselves apart from the larger companies, and that way that they set themselves apart is just with a variety of different products that they provide, and also high quality. Um, and I'm always amazed at what a lot of these small businesses are doing inside the cannabis industry, especially when it comes to cultivating different food products. I've seen a lot of things out there. I've seen one lady; she's into herbal, like herbal holistics, and she kind of had a gummy, and man, I I wasn't prepared for this. It had like I didn't really notice it until I like ate it, and then I started looking at the ingredients, and one of the ingredients on it was like a horny goat meat, and um it was crazy because it's I've never taken a blue pill, but I feel like that's what it would feel like if you took a blue pill. Because I wasn't at first it was like a rush of coffee, and it was like it was a lot of good flavors because it was like a peach mango um like gummy, but it was just something I hadn't ever tasted before. I'm like, oh, this is really good. I kind of like would like you to make me some of these without the cannabis because I'll just smack these down, and then like after a while, like I'm starting to sweat and get hot. I'm just like I'm like, actually, I don't want no more of these. Like, it's actually I looked at the ingredients for why I ate this, but it's always amazing to see the different type of things that people are doing. She also has one that's like very similar to like melatonin, um, with a lot of the antioxidant type of ingredients that she adds into to provide that type of feeling. So I love to see that as well. My next question is, where do you see Krystal Gardens in the next couple years? Do you guys see yourself expanding or just doing more of the same? Or what's the goal? What do you guys plan to be in the next
Yeah.
couple of years?
So I definitely think that, like I said, one of our goals is to work with like, smaller businesses and everything. And I feel like it's
Mhm.
really just about finding more talented people that may not necessarily have a spotlight on their stuff, and really kind of put our spotlight, our magnifying glass on them to make sure that they get the love that they deserve. Um, in terms of what we plan on doing in the future, we actually have, I can't really speak too much on it just because I don't want to jinx anything, but we do have some international opportunities. And I feel like
Wow.
international cannabis tourism is a space that I would like to kind of get into just because, I mean, you know me, I'm always traveling somewhere and
Yeah.
always making connections and
Definitely
build.
make sure you hit me up because I might flow with you.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. So one of those things that I want to do is really, make sure that these people can get their talents across the pond, out into Asia, something like that. And that's kind of like one of my goals. Another one goal is we're kind of deciding how we want to like do these events. A lot of people immediately think that we would like want to get a space and like run our own events. I'm not necessarily for something like that, but I think it may come to a point where that's just what it has to be. Um, I do think
That's a
that
good problem to have right there, man. It's a good problem to have.
yeah,
You've had a lot of successful events, so having an event space might be something that's in the future. That sounds real good.
definitely, definitely. And I feel like a lot of times whenever I do interviews or stuff, they're kind of like, yeah, we're waiting for you to open up a cannabis restaurant or something like that. And it's like, I definitely don't want to open a cannabis
I
restaurant.
feel that. I feel
I
that.
feel like it's
All the
just too much.
redlining,
Yes, I feel like
red
it's
tape. I mean,
literally, yeah, it's literally just too much bureaucracy for something like that. I'm pretty like chill, and I just want to keep running the events and making sure that I put spotlights on the people that deserve it. So kind of more of the same, just more international tourism. Definitely add that on. I want to do events in other states and other locations. We have done a couple pop-ups in other states, and I want to kind of like build out more team members in other locations and make sure that they can get them more on a consistent basis, like how we've been doing them in Providence and in Boston. So I know Cleveland is one of the places that we're looking at. And we have some events planned there in the future. So I would love to see us grow a little bit more out in the Midwest, and then also in DC, and return to LA for a little bit for sure.
nice. Yeah, those are some good spots definitely to go. I know. I was actually just talking to someone recently, and they said there's been a bunch of events in South Africa. That was just caught me by surprise. South Africa. Like,
Yeah,
I might want to try that one out.
one of
But
the things
you always know what is that?
one of the things I think is interesting is so Dutch they legalized cannabis in Amsterdam and everything,
Yeah,
but the Dutch own a lot of islands in the Caribbean, but it's still illegal in the Caribbean. So I'm just waiting for them to like open that up. You already have it legal in your mainland. Do it
yeah,
for your territories and your provinces, and then we'll be like, imagine like a cannabis event in the Caribbean. Like,
yeah.
this
That'd
thing
be
will go.
fire. Good,
This
good
thing will
weather, good
go.
vibes, good
Yeah.
drinks, sunshine, and birds, all types of fruits and vegetables. Yeah, that's a fire thought.
Yeah, I
Um,
think I think it'll happen soon, so we'll see.
all right, man. I'm looking forward to seeing some of those pop up, man.
Mhm.
My last question to you. I like to always leave with a little inspiration. This podcast is called Cultivating Conversations. So I want you to drop a gem, but I call it dropping a seed. Plant a seed of inspiration out there to other entrepreneurs and other people that are in spaces like yours, and just with some type of inspiration to them, message about fulfilling their dreams and how they can do what you're doing, and yeah, something like that.
For sure. I think what it really comes down to, a lot of what I boil down my success to, is my ability to take action. So I feel like if you're doing something, or if you have an idea, or if you're planning something, really take action. Go out, meet the people that support your ideas, do some research, look up stuff online, see who's doing it, see who's done it in the past, see if you can learn some experience from them. Reach out to people who are doing it currently, see, if you can either watch how they're doing it, or like, just understand how their process works, and then finally like start executing. Line up, I use a lot of like chess analogies. Line up your pieces, and try to make something happen, try to make something shake. You gotta move. Every day is a time. Every day that you don't do something is a day wasted, and our time is very limited here. So it's very important for you to like take action, jump on these ideas, and really turn the gears and get stuff moving.
No, I appreciate that message. Yeah, that's a good one right there. You always got to take action. Every day is a day to take action on opportunities. Because you never want to grow old and be talking about, oh man, I wish I would have did this. I wish I would have did that. When you had every opportunity to do it, then do it now.
Definitely.
Just do it now and take advantage.
And definitely, and don't be scared to fail. Like, you know what I mean? I feel like a lot of people are so sad, or they don't want to try something because they're scared it might not work out. And it's like, I've thrown a ton of events that haven't worked out. I've thrown a ton of events that I've lost money. Like, you know what I mean? It happens. And the only way that you're gonna learn is if you take those L's and then turn them into a lesson and then run it back. So, just don't be scared to fail, and just keep working and keep trying to make something shake, and eventually it'll work.
Yes, that is true. You always got to keep it pushing forward. One last thing. You got any drops? Any people you want to shout out? Where can people find you? Um, any events that you got coming up?
Yeah, definitely. So on Facebook, you can find us at Krystal Gardens. On Instagram, you can find us at crystalgardens.us. And in terms of shout outs, I have a long list of shout outs. So I'll just get it off. I'll start with my Krystal Gardens team, which is Elvis and Gianni. They got to do a lot of the organizing with me. I want to shout out our chefs, Toasted Chef, Mark from Providence, Chef Picasso, Trey out there, the people that we have events lined up in the future, Justine from Just Designs. We have her for the resin events. We have Vivian from Lit Vibes for some of our candle making workshops going up. So those are them. I also want to shout out the places that host us for these events and our sponsorships. So Rasia at Diaspora, super cool. And we also have Nikki at the Heritage THC Club, definitely people that I continue to grow with. And definitely some of the people in Providence, Mark at Passion Lounge. And yeah, I think that sums up everybody that I've been running stuff with. Oh, and definitely our artists. I actually forgot about our artists. Poor me. Sophia, she's a great artist out in the Boston area. She has her own art studio where she does her own art classes and things like that. She's very knowledgeable as an art instructor and will teach you something about painting. And then we have Gabby, who is our other artist. She's really, really great and does more of like the colors and the types of paintings that she does is just always a blast to have fun. So yeah, I think that's pretty much everybody.
All right. No, I appreciate having you on, James. Loved hearing about your story. Love seeing your growth, man. I just want to give you a message. Just keep doing what you're doing, man, because people are definitely watching. I know I am. I'm definitely proud of everything you've been doing. I remember it starting out with those simple pop-ups. I remember the one over there in South Bay?
Yeah.
And then I think you even had one at our apartment, and you wasn't even there. You were in California, so I just been seeing your growth and seeing you expand. Definitely inspired and really enjoying what you're doing and seeing you flourishing and what you're doing.
Of course, man. Thanks. It's always a pleasure talking to you.
All right, man. Hey, well, this has been Cultivating Conversations. I'm glad to have you guys through. This has been Farmer Jazz with James MacGlashing and Krystal Gardens. Hope to see y'all next week on next episode of Cultivating Conversations. Bye for now.
Peace.